The night was silent except for the soft ticking of the old clock hanging on the living room wall, the same clock that had been there since before he was born. Aamir sat on the couch, staring at it as if it held the answers to questions he had never dared to ask. The lights were dim, and outside the rain fell steadily, tapping against the window like memories that refused to fade. He was 27 now, living alone in the same house where he had grown up. His father's things were still there, the worn-out leather jacket hanging behind the door, the half-broken spectacles resting on the bookshelf, and the faint smell of tobacco that never really left the air. His father had been gone for almost 2 years, but some nights, like this one, it felt as if he was still sitting in the armchair across the room, silently watching him. Aamir took a deep breath and leaned back, closing his eyes. His father's voice echoed in his mind, stern yet steady. "Be strong, Aamir. Never let the world see you weak." Those words had been his mantra growing up. His father had been a man of few emotions, strict and disciplined. He rarely smiled, but when he did, it felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. But as Aamir grew older, he started seeing the cracks beneath that strong exterior. His father had carried his burdens quietly, the financial struggles, the long hours, the sleepless nights, all to give his son a better life. Aamir hadn't understood it back then. He had only seen a man who was always serious, always tired, always expecting more from him. As a teenager, he had hated that distance. He used to wonder why his father never said, "I'm proud of you." Even when he topped his class, even when he won awards, his father's expression remained unchanged, just a small nod and a quiet, "good." Aamir wanted more. He wanted warmth. He wanted a father who hugged him, who laughed with him, who said he loved him, but that never happened. Now, years later, sitting alone in the same house, Aamir finally understood. His father had shown love in ways Aamir had never learned to see. The memory came back like a film reel, the day Aamir broke his leg in school. His father had driven through the night from another city just to see him. He didn't say much, just sat beside him, quietly holding his hand. No words, just presence. That was his way of saying, "I'm here. I care." Aamir opened his eyes again and looked at the photo frame on the table. It was a picture of them from years ago. His father standing tall in his work uniform, Aamir beside him holding a school trophy. They both looked awkward, not smiling, not posing, just standing there. But now, Aamir saw something he hadn't noticed before. The way his father's hand rested on his shoulder, firm and protective. He reached out and touched the frame. His throat tightening, he whispered, "I wish I had understood you earlier. Dad?" The rain grew heavier outside, blurring the city lights. He remembered the night they had their last argument. It had been about Aamir's career. His father wanted him to join the government service, a stable job with a fixed future. But Aamir wanted to follow his passion for photography. He remembered shouting, saying things he didn't mean. His father had stood quietly for a moment, then simply said, "One day, you'll know what it means to be responsible." Those were the last words they ever exchanged. A few months later, his father had passed away from a sudden heart attack. Aamir had been on a photography assignment in another city. He came home too late. Too late to say sorry, too late to hear one last word from him. That regret had lived inside him like a silent wound ever since. He picked up his camera from the table and turned it over in his hands. It had been his father's last gift to him, though he hadn't known it then. After the funeral, Aamir found a small envelope with his name on it. Inside was some money and a note that simply read, "For your dream. Make it worth it." Aamir had cried for hours that day. His father had always understood. He just never said it out loud. Now every photo Aamir took, every picture he framed, carried a part of his father's memory. He had built a small exhibition recently, displaying portraits of everyday people, a shopkeeper, an old man reading a newspaper, a mother feeding her child, a boy flying a kite. In every photo, he saw traces of his father's life, his struggle, his love. One picture in particular meant the most. It was of a pair of hands, rough, wrinkled, covered in grease and hard work. Those were his father's hands, captured years ago without him noticing. That photo won Aamir his first award. He had titled it, the hands that built me. Tonight, looking at that photo hanging on the wall, he felt something shift inside him. He realized that love doesn't always come in the form of hugs or words. Sometimes it comes as silence, as sacrifices, as years of unseen effort. The sound of thunder rolled through the night. Aamir stood up, walked to the window, and stared at the dark sky. Somewhere out there, he believed, his father was watching, not as a strict figure anymore, but as a proud soul. Finally at peace, he whispered softly. "You were right. Dad, responsibility isn't a burden. It's a gift." The wind blew through the curtains, and for a fleeting second, he thought he could smell his father's tobacco again. He smiled, not out of sadness, but out of warmth. The memories no longer hurt. They healed. He sat down at his desk and opened his journal, something he had started keeping after his father's death. He began to write, "Dear Dad, I used to think you were hard on me because you didn't care. But now I know you were hard on me because you wanted me to be strong enough for this world. You taught me to stand tall even when everything falls apart. I used to crave your words, but now I hear them in the silence of every decision I make. I'm still learning, still growing. But every step I take, I feel you walking beside me." He paused for a moment, wiped his eyes, and continued writing. "Sometimes I wonder if I made you proud. I don't know if you'd say it out loud even now, but I like to think that somewhere you're smiling. Thank you for everything you never said but always did. I love you, Dad." He closed the journal and leaned back, letting the tears flow freely. They weren't tears of grief anymore, they were tears of gratitude. The clock struck midnight. The rain had stopped, leaving behind a cool, fresh scent. The world outside felt quiet and new, as if the universe itself had paused to listen. Aamir stood up, turned off the lights, and walked toward his father's old chair. He sat down, resting his head where his father's used to rest, and whispered one last time, "Good night, Dad." The moonlight filtered through the curtains, bathing the room in soft silver. Somewhere in that stillness, Aamir felt a presence, not haunting, not heavy, just comforting. A quiet reminder that love, once given, never truly fades. He closed his eyes, and for the first time in years, he felt peace. Not because the pain was gone, but because he had finally learned to live with it, to honor it, to let it become part of who he was. And as he drifted to sleep, one thought echoed in his mind. A truth his father had always known, but Aamir had taken years to understand. Sometimes, the loudest "I love you" is the one that's never spoken.